Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Coach's Corner. Today, we will be discussing New Year's resolutions. Worth it or a waste? I'm your host, Dana, and I also have host Eric and Amy here with me.
What's up, guys?
We are going to jump right into this topic as we head into the new year. I think first
this is a
question,
spicy one.
Yeah,
Love it.
I'm excited about this one.
There's going to be a lot of opinions here again. This is our
Well, also people need people's cycles. Different things work for different people.
Yep.
So we're gonna talk about a few different things there too.
100%. And this is going to end out our opinion pieces for the year.
There's facts in here. We
there-
got some stats.
We have
Stuff that works.
We're hitting you with the data. Don't you worry about it. But first question has to be, do you all believe in New Year's resolutions, and have you done them? I guess we'll start with Eric.
Yeah, let's do it.
What about you?
So I do believe in them, but when I say resolution, I mean kind of goals and targets. That's how I look at it. So for me, if I break it down, a goal for me is the big picture. How do you want your life to be when it gets to whatever point? And then the targets are your resolutions, and you use the targets to help you along the way to reach that bigger picture goal.
Amy.
Well,
We're done.
yeah, I got nothing there. Well, okay. So a stat: 45% of Americans set New Year's resolutions. Only 8% are successful in achieving them.
8%?
8%.
That's a rough number.
It is rough, but I
8%.
see why. I mean, when I set New Year's resolutions, they don't really pan out. But I will use some of these tips that we go over today to maybe be a little more successful in the future.
Well, when I hear that stat, I'm like, oh God, that's low. And I'm really not a person that sets New Year's resolutions. I did when I was a little bit younger, but one, I never followed through with them.
Yeah.
And two, I do this throughout the year where I'll set some specific goals, and I am one that doesn't really create a list of goals, and we'll talk about writing out your goals. So I feel like that's something that I may need to explore and see if that works for me. But I usually have overarching goals, and then I really narrow focus on specifics. So I think we have to learn more about goal setting and what that
100%.
entails as far as behavior.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, though. When I see that 8%, working in a gym, in a fitness center, the amount of people that are there Jan 1 versus
it's packed.
March,
Yeah.
I would say 8% stick to it.
8%. And I would say, from a fitness standpoint, it may even be lower than 8%.
I can see that.
Because fitness is hard.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's hard to stick with that whole time.
It is hard.
Especially if you don't know a whole lot about fitness and you just set this crazy goal and just right out of the gate, and then it's a little discouraging because it does take time to lose weight and to see results.
Just think about that person that January 1, they go to the gym, they're they're going to kill it, and they go in, they're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah,
And they get
that is
freaked
overwhelming
out,
too.
and they're like, okay, I'm going to go home.
Or there's people, they do one workout and eat a salad and then they don't lose 5 pounds.
like,
They're
I don't
that
like this.
sucks. Yeah.
Well, there's fitness is anything but instant gratification, right?
Right.
So you really have to start investing in that goal and be patient with the change with fitness to really see the successes of your work. And usually that's just not the case with New Year's resolutions. It's really I want to set this goal. I want to see what happens. And fitness, it takes bare minimum 8 weeks, maybe 12 to see any type of substantial results. And I'm talking about you are busting ass. You are putting in the work
I feel like a lot of
for
people
those
don't
12
understand
weeks.
that.
Yeah.
It's not, that's why we're going to talk about goal setting more. Eric talks about targets a lot.
Managing
what he
your
means.
expectations, being realistic.
Yeah.
Where do you start if you don't know?
Small
that's
goals.
coming later.
Like,
so
how do you
Small
actually change that
goals.
Stay tuned.
behavior?
Yes.
And let's go. We're here. Let's go into
Let's
that.
go
Let's
right
go
now.
into that.
Okay.
It's how do you set the right goals? I have a lot of different things for that. And is it dependent on the person? Amy, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts around there on, one, how do you set the right goals? to is it dependent on the person?
Yeah, it's definitely dependent on the person, and I'm really interested in, so like even in school, like in college, I actually started out as a psychology major because I'm very interested in how the mind works, and I like to read the books on motivation and like the mind tricks and stuff like that. But I was never good at goal setting. That was just something like if I wrote down a goal, almost like me writing it down, I wouldn't do it. Like I feel like I was the opposite of everybody that's like, oh, write it down, tell people, whatever. And like I would set a goal, I would write it down, and I would like over plan this goal. So like if I wanted to do a workout thing, I would write out my whole workout plan, I would post it up, I would get so excited about it, and it was almost like I did so much there that I was no longer really like hyped about doing it. Like I felt like I put so much into it already. I kind of lost that motivation. And I came across an article on Psychology Today, and I know, Eric, you're very different than this, so we might have a little a little back and forth.
Let's debate.
But a lot of times you hear with your goals, like tell people because that'll hold you accountable. It'll put pressure on you, whatever. But this article, and that's why I feel like it's more dependent on the person, because I feel like this is how I operate better. But it says the more people that you tell, and if you make your goal public, you actually get that dopamine hit ahead of time, and you don't have that motivation to continue on with your goal.
It's like you already did it and you didn't do it.
Exactly. So it says when we publicize our goal intentions, others acknowledge the awesomeness and of these potential changes. And so we already feel like we did it and we lose motivation to continue. So like, if you post a picture on the internet, like your before picture, you're like, I'm going to do all this, and these are my nutrition goals, these are my fitness goals, and I'm getting after it, and people are commenting like, that's awesome, like, nice job, whatever, blah, blah. Like, I think some people might feel that pressure after putting that out there to like have an after picture or to like follow up or whatever, but like, for me, like, oh, people are already telling me I'm awesome. Like, I did it. Like, I don't know. So that's kind of how
reach your goal yet.
Yeah. So that's like a mind trick for me is I keep stuff more to myself. I don't work well under pressure either, though. So
it's really weird. Like I'm the same but opposite. So like, and I don't know that I have figured out how to handle my goals anymore. Like it's kind of shifted because I've had some great successes and I've had some great failures. And it's like I've went through those type of stages, and I'm content right now. And contentment, it was not a place I was ever at. So it was always what's next. It was always I'm putting in the grunt work here so I can be here in the long term. So that was a span of like 7 years. So when people are like, don't get content, I don't agree with that. I think contentment is a good thing, but don't get comfortable. Yeah. You can be content and still be like pushing. And so like really that's where I feel like I'm at, but I'm with you, Amy. Like I'm pretty private. Like in general, I'm a private person. I just like, I'm very outgoing, but I'm pretty private on what I share. I will share with who I want to, and then I won't if I don't. But I work really well under pressure. That is me, 100%. The more risk there is, the higher the pressure, the better I'm going to be.
That is not me.
I will still be uncomfortable as hell during, but my performance escalates.
Yeah.
And so it's like, should I be telling people about my goals?
Right.
Like, will that help me? And it's something that like I've never been comfortable doing just because I am a private person. And I'm like you, if I write it down, it's like, I'm not motivated to do this anymore. Yeah. So it's like, I probably need to figure out what works for me. And I think that's what I'm trying to get across to people is like, you really probably need to be self-aware on what works best for you and do kind of like trial and error.
So you bring up an interesting, so now my psychology wheels are turning a little bit because I'm actually not a private person. Like y'all know me, you know everything about me. Like, and I like to post on social media a lot. So I'm not private, but I think a lot of it too is like I like validation from other people. So maybe I need to like be more intrinsically motivated than extrinsically motivated, and maybe that's like tied into if I post ahead of time and I get that validation, that's like reaching my goal.
That's all you need.
So maybe some people like if your validation are externally motivated.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Maybe that's what you need. Maybe intrinsically, like I feel like you're probably more intrinsically motivated. Yes. So maybe that is what works for you.
And it's weird because we're going to get full on psychology here. I swear we'll move on from this, but we're going to touch on behavior change later in the episode. And behavior change is all about like the start of it is what is your intrinsic motivators, and that's things like internal things, internal motivation, extrinsic, your why. What is your why? What's the deep root why? And then extrinsic is more like you want people to think you're pretty, or you want people to think you're cool, or you want to be rich, or you want to be rich, you want a yacht, you want to be popular on the gram, whatever. That's extrinsic. Both of those are okay. We're not saying one is better than the other, but I think how you handle your goals is how you respond to your motivators. And you're right, I am. But the second question is this innate? Like, are you at that way? I have no idea why I have a lot of intrinsic motivators, but I swear to you, it's always been that way. It's been that way since I was 2 years old. Like, I didn't, maybe it's developed over time, but like, I didn't do anything. Like, this has just been there, like a very high motivation to like.
It'd be interesting to see, based on somebody's environment and culture they grow up in, to see how those motivators factor in.
And it's weird, like
the mind.
Yes, like
I love it.
Is that nature?
Right.
Is it innate? Were you born with it? And like, the more we studied it, I just did a program with Exos that we really looked at behavior, and it's the more I get into it, the more I'm like, that's innate. Like you're born with that.
Another thing I want to also bring up is that it's okay if your goals or resolutions shift too. One, you're in the middle of them, right? Because you get partly through it and you're like, you know what? I'm getting close to hitting this goal, but I don't think that's the end result I want anymore. I think it's this over here. And some people may look at that as a failure when in reality you're just transitioning to something a little different.
Also, that's such a good point. It brings up like goals don't make happiness either. I think New Year's resolutions are usually based on what is going to make me happy. And it's like, and I didn't think of this when we were prepping for this, is like a lot of times it's, I want to lose weight. Let's go back to, we're a fitness podcast. I want to lose weight. And the intrinsic motivator there is really like, I'm not happy. I want to be happy.
Yeah.
Losing weight may make you happy. It may make you feel better, and then you feel better, you act better, you feel like you're a better mom,
depends
you're a
on
better
how
spouse.
you lose the weight.
Exactly.
It's funny you bring that up. So, candid story, I had this conversation with my wife. This was back last December when we both started working out again after our daughter was born. And she's like, I want to lose weight. And I was like, okay. You know, so if your clothes fit better, you look better, you feel better, but you didn't lose any weight, would that be okay? She's like, no, I want to lose weight.
You're like,
So it's like, huh.
You're
I
like,
was like, how
oh,
does
okay.
that work? But okay.
I
So there's your
think
goal.
you have to recognize that though too. Like sometimes I've hit goals before that I had that I thought, this is it. Like if I hit this is what I'm working towards. I had like, this is one of my dream jobs actually, but I really hit my point of my dream job at UK. And I thought that like, this is it. Like I have hit my dream job at 27. Whew. Couple of years in, I'm like, this is not my dream job. Like
Right.
goals have got
That's
to
that
change.
whole transition thing.
I
yeah.
loved it, but there's parts that you don't see from the outside. That's like, whew, I'm
We don't
tired.
know if you don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you get into it and it's like, wow, this is not what I expected it to be.
So not all goals are going to equal like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be happy. Like you got to do some self work for that.
Yeah.
To find that. So we talked about setting the right goals from just each of our opinions. Let's talk about how to approach goal setting. I think it's overwhelming for people.
Yeah.
I think people have no idea. They just say, I want.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
I want to lose weight. And that is
Yeah.
the extent of that.
It could be like, I want to take more vacations this year. That's
Okay,
maybe
how?
that's
How are you
maybe
gonna
an
do that?
easy one. You have to ask how.
Yeah.
And be
100%.
specific.
Yes. And I don't think people want to know the how.
Yeah.
I think it's like more of a broad picture,
Yeah.
like saying it is enough.
Yeah.
I want to go on more vacations.
Yeah. That's
I've
what I
said-
say. I want more money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Cool. So do I.
I've said multiple times, like, I've said this for years. I want to travel more. It's a common one, right?
Yeah.
I traveled 1.5 times this year, and it was both to Florida. Like, I've been to Florida 97,000 times. What am I doing? Like, my one goal has been to travel more, and it's like, I never planned out the how. How are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? What trip are you going on? Who are you going to go with?
Yeah.
Where do you want to spend your time? Where do you want to spend your money? And it's like, I didn't even get to that point because I thought, I want to travel's enough.
Yeah. I just think of people that like have a page of like 10 of those things. I want to travel. I want to lose weight. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to play with my kids. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to win a lot. I don't know, whatever. Like,
Right.
And then like I feel like that's how the resolutions die.
Well, one thing
It's
I've
overwhelming
learned
and not specific.
Yeah.
over time, because I used to be that chronic person, set resolutions 2 weeks in, you're done with it. You're just going about your way, is ask others like for help. For instance, you want to make more money. Okay. How? Go ask somebody who has more than you. Go ask them how they did it. You want to lose weight. Go ask somebody who did it. Who did they talk to? Who did they train with?
I think that's a
figure
big
that
one
out.
that's like usually missed. It's like a lot of times we want to think we're going to figure it out,
Right.
but like we don't.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I've said that too. Like I want to look at just a secondary income source, or I forget what they call it. Passive income.
Side
Yeah.
hustle.
And I'm like, but I really just talk about it with one of my friends that like we haven't done anything about it, and it's like, but you're not talking to anyone that actually does it. So like, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many workshops out there. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's the what, but you have to have the how and then action steps to make
Yeah.
the how happen. So I think one, it's like pinpointing what are your top priorities.
Yeah. And narrowing it down. Don't have like
Yeah.
50 things. Like, what do you really want to focus on this
Choose
year?
a focus goal.
Focus goal. What
So,
is that?
I have 4 pillars that I go by that I set my goals on. It's health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Oh.
Those are the 4 categories. That's what I set them on. Because
Wow.
I used to just spit everything on
Yeah.
a piece of paper. I
This
was
is the
I was
person
the
I wanna
15
be.
lines
Yep.
of just
I'm gonna do
everything.
it all.
Exactly. And nothing would ever
I
happen.
love the happiness bucket too, though, because it's its
That's
own
so
thing.
hard.
Yeah.
It's its own thing,
It's so hard.
And
a
you
lot
got to
of-
figure out what makes you happy too.
that's
That's even
the hard
hard.
a lot of that is like self stuff.
Yeah.
and like no one really wants to
Yeah.
look at that.
Good old
I love to
self-reflection.
look at that though.
Don't
Like
look
I
into
get
it. You know what you're going to
nerdy.
find.
Yeah. That's a can of worms.
Sometimes I think I analyze too deep, and I'm like, you need to take a step back. Like, you're fine, girl.
Yeah.
You are fine. But it's like, I think I love that bucket because a lot of people think all the other buckets will make them
Yeah.
that way. And it's like,
Yeah.
you got to find, like, do some self-examining to find what truly makes you happy. Like, a Saturday morning with nothing to do,
Yeah.
it's like fall or it's Christmas.
Yeah.
I love a Christmas tree. Is like, with nothing to do, so I can sleep in a little bit. I don't have kids, so sorry, parents. I sleep in a little bit, and I read like not a lot,
Yeah.
maybe like 4 or 5 pages of a book, and drink my coffee out of like a real mug.
Nice. That's the
That is
best.
pure happiness to me.
It's not like
pure happiness.
People really overthink things, and that's even, I mean, that's been a big thing for me this year, is figuring out what actually makes me happy, because I feel like I was so heavily influenced by other people and like society telling you what you need to be happy, but like
Yeah.
really, yeah, just like sitting on a porch on a nice day drinking a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning, like that's happy. Like, is
But
that
even knowing what
but it
makes
feels
you
like
happy,
you should
still
be more.
have pressures, social pressures of
Social
people telling
pressures.
you, oh, you probably shouldn't be doing that. You should probably just be working or doing
Yeah,
something else, right?
That's the problem.
People always
Yeah.
say you need more. Like
Yeah.
it's like we're in a culture of more, and it's
Yeah.
like, well,
Never
what
satisfied.
if I'm happy with
I think
this?
I think
like,
that's
why do I
what's
need?
so difficult is
Yeah.
like you see people on like their deathbeds. What they really talk about is like the small moments or like
Yeah.
the miracles of life.
Yeah.
Like they're just, and we miss all the small stuff because we're worried about the next promotion or the next kid
Yeah.
that we couldn't worry about our 1-year-old or things like that.
Yeah.
Stuff is real
Yes,
because like
100%.
Eric's talked about when they had Indy, like immediate questions like, when's your next kid?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Can I just enjoy this one?
Right.
like-
Like, I don't have enough
Yeah.
time for the
Yeah.
next kid. Let me focus on this one.
Well, it's interesting. I read, and I wish I would have I'm gonna reread it at some point because it was very good. This book called Psychology of Money, and one of the things that it like starts out with is like determining your enough point. because like so many people, you keep moving the goalpost and you just get caught up in stuff, but it's figuring out, what's that enough? And then also like, what do you value? Do you value family? Do you value work? Okay. And then like, if you value work this much, you're taking away from another bucket to have that money. Or would you rather it was very interesting.
And
I highly recommend the book because I'm not explaining it well.
No, it makes sense though, because like, I listen to a lot of motivation stuff too, and it really talks about finding the balance of your buckets, basically. Yeah. Like, where do you want to put more in? Yeah. Something has to come out if you put more in. And that's what I think goal setting is. Yeah. Like, where, I talked to you guys about this the other day, is like, for so long, my goals were around my career. Mm-hmm. I'm doing this now to get to here. So it was more career focused. In the past 3 years, my goals shifted where it's more social. Like, that is figuring out who I am, who I want to be around, and really focusing on time for myself, which sounds like sometimes I do feel like, God, you're being kind of lazy. Like, you're doing nothing on a Friday, just sitting around watching Netflix. But it's like, that has been... Or like on a Tuesday night, I'm not working, I'm watching a show. That used to never happen. But I truly have to look at that's what you've been working on. Yeah. And it's like, you're succeeding at it.
Right,
like, it's
right. You can do that now. It's okay.
And like, I think it's recognition. And I think that would help with specific fitness goals too. Yeah, 100%. Is like recognizing the little wins. So you keep moving the inch. Yeah. With whether it's diet. Like, let's talk about, why can't a resolution be like, in the first 2 weeks of the resolution, you want to drink 5 bottles of water a day. I mean, and even start off the first week, you got to drink 3 bottles a day. Yeah. The second week, why don't it become more focused and like, that's a step in the right direction for health. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of like, I want to lose 25 pounds. I'm not drinking sodas anymore. Right. Yeah. Like, all that stuff is so hard.
Well, those are kind of like the targets, right, of those bigger goals. Of I want to lose 25 pounds. Okay, a target is drink 3 bottles of water a day. Yeah. So, I mean, that comes, okay, so back to like approaching goal setting. So pinpoint top priorities, choosing a focus goal, examining, who you want to be, what that goal is. Okay, so writing the goal down, but I feel like, yes, you like, I don't know if you said that doesn't work for you, but like, you do need it somewhere. You have to specify what this goal is. And that also goes into SMART goals. So being very specific with that goal, and then like writing that down somewhere so that you can go back to it and see what those specific steps were, so you can measure it and see, if you are making progress. And when you write down
the plan, right?
And when you write down your big goal, then that's when you start to break it down into those parts too.
I think another important piece that we talked about, and we kind of hit on it prior, is like setting a timeline. I think that will help you stay motivated, where it doesn't need to be a whole year. What do you want to get done in the first month? Okay, hit it. Right. Next month, what do we want to get done here? And it doesn't even have to be a month, but it's like, the next point is you're committing and building action, and that is your plan, right? If we set true timelines. So the last one is, how do you feel about accountability partners? This was a big one in our discussion.
Yeah, this is up for debate, because you hear that they're so great. You need an accountability partner, in my experience, it hasn't been great, because I am the accountable partner. Yeah, like, same. I'm the one that will get up and go regardless and get stood up. Yeah. So I don't particularly like them. I don't know. I'm a pretty motivated person myself. Like, I do get up and I can get up and work out. I can go for a run by myself. Like, I don't particularly feel like I need one. Maybe that is beneficial for some people, but it runs into the, how accountable are you? Are you both going to fall off together, or are you actually going to do
need accountability? I think that's you kind of need someone that's in a similar place that you are. But then if you're both not accountable, that's not going to be great either.
Then you both fall off together.
But where I've run into is like, I'm along the lines of Amy is, as we've stated, I'm pretty motivated, and usually someone is not at the same level currently. So anytime we work out and I'm trying to be this accountability partner, and specifically I'm talking about workouts, is like, I don't feel focused. I don't feel motivated, because this person's like, oh, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, I do. Yeah. So it's bringing down your mood. Yep. So sometimes and that can create a lot of tension
there
between like friends, between spouses. Like, I mean, my suggestion, and this is not just plugging us, but like, that's what coaches are for. Honestly.
I was going to say that so in my experience, if you have somebody that's very committed to you, that's the accountability partner I want. When I say that is like, if you pay a coach to be that person for you, they're going to be committed to you for that.
Yeah.
And the attention won't be there because you're paying them for their
And
time
you know
to do
that they're waiting for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And they'll help you do things
And
correctly.
you don't want to disappoint that person. You don't want to waste your own money doing that.
No, because it's wasting your money.
Yep.
You got an appointment.
Yeah.
It's in your calendar, and they're waiting on you. You know that. So you're more likely to show up, and you're getting personal time with them where...
With the professional, too.
Yeah, and you can kind of release things that maybe you can't with, like, your friends or your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. Is like... that type of relationship is truly important. And I think it's like really undervalued actually, because that usually, I will say, when someone says, where should I start? That's usually the missing piece. They're not willing to work one-on-one with someone and they say, I just need an exercise plan. Did you make it to the gym 3 days 3 days this week? If the answer is no, you don't need a plan. You need accountability.
Yeah.
You need a coach because that's the missing piece.
And if they're a good coach, you can trust them at what they're saying is right versus having a buddy tell you to do this and that and it not work.
I found this on Pinterest.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Hey, man, I'm doing 600
come on, dude.
curls today.
And it's like, you don't have to be with them forever. That's that's where I think the thought process gets like misconstrued, is that you don't have to be with them forever. If they're a good coach, they actually don't want you to be dependent on them forever. They want to get you where you are going 3 days a week. Now you're ready for the plan. Now you're ready.
Yep.
I think where the accountability partner is good is like it's typically easier to keep a promise to someone else than it is to yourself. Like it's easy to cancel on yourself, which is sad. We should have more respect for ourselves.
It's super easy to do that.
But it is. But if someone else is there, but then yes, will that person be there? So pros and cons, and I definitely support the coach thing.
You know, and then if you do have an accountability partner and you both want to sleep in, guess what?
Yeah.
No one's showing up. We touched on it earlier in the conversation. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, is like true behavior change. Amy is a behavior change specialist. So like when I ask a lot of people that are really good at goal setting or seem to be really successful, I used air quotes because like what is success to you may be different for someone else, but long-term success for me looks like behavior change. I don't feel like you can, if your goal is something, whatever it may be, let's just use fitness for example. If it's like, I want to start working out, it can't happen until behavior changes. And we talked about like intrinsic and extrinsic motivators. That's usually where like the goal and the behavior starts, is like defining. You have to define what is your extrinsic motivators, what is your intrinsic motivators to work out.
And it has to be strong. Otherwise, you're not going to want to do it.
Super strong. And then like, what are your triggers for not working out? What are your barriers? Is it time? Is it kids? Is it like, find
those obstacles.
Is it that are your triggers that you have when you have long days at work, when you're in the office, whatever, there is no way in hell you're going to the gym after? Is that a trigger? If it is, that can't be when you're choosing to work out. That has to be somewhere else. And I think like basically triggers have to happen to change behavior. I'm going to call Amy out on this. Amy has a 9 o'clock alarm on her phone, and it reminds her to do something. And it's like, that is what I'm talking about. That's a trigger. So, like, something happens to cause another action. You can do that a lot with food, too. Like, boredom sets in. Eat a bag of chips.
It can be an alarm, but it can also be like every time you go to the bathroom, do 10 squats and you pair those together. Or after a meal, go for a walk. And so you pair that together. It doesn't have to be an alarm.
Yeah, exactly. Like
something that is going to trigger that other action. which sometimes it can be an unhealthy thing. If your trigger is once dinner is done, now you go hunting for something sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like I had a consultation with someone a couple of years ago, and he didn't even realize that he did this, but every time he would get in his car, he would eat. Like, I don't know if he'd bring snacks or like hit a drive-through. I don't know, but he was like, I always eat in my car. And then just realizing that, like, getting in the car means eating. And that was something that he stopped doing.
Usually a lot of food oriented stuff is all about behavior.
Yeah. Well, also, like, you know, when you sit down on your couch, do you have a bag of chips with you? Like, some people don't even realize, like, it's just such a habit at this point. Like, when I sit, I eat.
Yeah. When I'm bored, I eat. When I'm sad, I eat.
Yeah.
Like,
notice what's triggering those behaviors that you want to change, and see how you can
it could
pair
be
something else with that.
I know a lot of guys like this and females that are like, I'm done with dinner. I'm going to sit down and have a beer.
Yeah.
Well, like one beer turns into 4. Like you can't be having 4 beers every night and be okay. And
That's
it's
what, like
600
600 calories?
Yeah. We talked about that in the
like
holiday
my peppermint
episode.
mocha.
Be smashing 3 hours at the gym.
Yeah, but it's like it's replacing maybe negative habits that you have with more positive habits.
And even like replacing, so it's much easier to replace a habit than it is to remove it. So if you're used to, say, having a peppermint mocha every morning.
Amy had one today.
Yeah. It's a treat, you know. But some people have them every morning.
Yeah.
But if that's what you're used to like going through the drive-thru before work, or like taking, you know, getting to work, going for your walk to Starbucks, whatever. Like that's a habit and that's something you enjoy doing. But maybe like switch out the peppermint mocha for a tea or a black coffee. You see how you can swap those habits. And you're going to have to give and take a little bit. Like obviously tea is not
Still
as good as a
treat
peppermint
yourself.
mocha, but you're still getting that action in.
For sure. I think I want to talk about the 6 stages of behavior change. I think this one's a tough one. Yeah. I think it's, we talked about all about self-awareness, and I think a lot of goal setting is self-awareness, is realizing maybe you got to ask yourself, will I do this? Like, truly, will I do this?
Yeah,
but
can you commit to it?
Amy, since you're the specialist here, can you talk to us a little bit about the 6 stages of behavior? And Eric and I'll chime in where we can, but what does that look like? And most people don't even know about them.
Yeah. So there's like, I think the official name, the trans-theoretical model of change.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when I used to do consultations and stuff, like you can hear in people's voices where they're at based on some words they're using. So the different stages, there's pre-contemplation. So this is the person doesn't even realize it's a problem. They don't realize they're overweight. They don't care. The thought has never entered their mind. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
Pre-contemplation. Then you move into contemplation where you're like, you know what? I can't zip my pants. Maybe this is an issue, you know? Or like maybe a doctor says, oh, your levels are high or something. Something like sparks and you're thinking about it. You're like, okay, maybe
my pants won't zip.
Maybe we need to do a little something here. So contemplation, you're thinking about it. Then you move into preparation. So this is when you start taking that action. So my levels are high. Maybe I should think about, you know, cutting my sodium or not having my peppermint mochas, or maybe I need to get to the gym. You're thinking about it. You're gathering information. You might have a consultation with a coach. You know, you're just kind of, you're gathering. You're preparing to take this next step. Then from preparation, you move into action. So now you're actually going to the gym. You're going to your training sessions. You're counting your calories. You're reducing your sodium. You're putting down your cigarettes, whatever it is, taking action in it. From there, you move into maintenance. I think, I want to say this is like 6 months. I feel like maintenance. So in maintenance, it's kind of like a natural thing at this point. Once you get to maintenance, though, there's still that chance that you could relapse, which is the next step. So it's either termination or relapse. Termination is not really a thing because at any point you could slip up. Something could happen in life and you stop going to the gym. You know, maybe you've been working out consistently for a year, but now you have a kid. Something happened. And so you might slip back in the stages. That's always a thing. But maintenance is the goal, and holding it there.
But just to clarify, so would maintenance be, say somebody wants to lose 25 pounds, they hit that goal, and then would maintenance then be after that to maintain that?
Yeah, could be maintaining those habits too.
Yeah.
And your weight might go up and down a few pounds,
Right,
but
right,
hopefully, you know, if you gain back those 25 pounds plus some, you've definitely slipped back.
Yeah.
And
That's
you might
where
need
you
to take
see
a
it.
look at those
I
actions.
feel like that's where you see relapse the most is like just in overall health is that there will be periods in your life where you may be more fit, and then there'll be periods of your life where that's not a focus.
Yep.
There'll be possible periods of your life where you'll be more fit than others or you'll be eating better than others. There's going to be different ebbs and flows of what's going on in your present day. But I think what's also important is like if you realize breaking it down like that, I bet a lot of people listening have realized like I've went through those exact stages and I've actually done a behavior change. Like I've changed my behavior. They just may have went into a relapse quicker than they thought they would.
Right.
And it's like anything, again, see what that trigger was. It could be, you know, a new job, a death in the family, children, a breakup. It can be any of those. But once you do it once, like you can do it again.
So I will say, because I've been here before, is the silver lining in a relapse is knowing that you've done it already before and you can do it again.
Yes. And it's like I feel like once you know you've done it before, it's like I'm hearing the Rocky song in my head right now. It's just like, we talked about it. The comeback is greater than the setback. It's like, you can do that again. And each time you're going to be a little bit stronger than you were that first time around.
And this goes back to our point is talk to somebody who's been there and done that. Because if you've never done it before, you're not going to know what it's like along that journey.
Basically, I feel like people don't talk to one each other enough.
Yeah.
They don't talk
100%.
about the goods.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the struggle either.
Yeah.
Like it's
A lot
like,
of people are afraid to be transparent anymore.
Yeah.
They don't
Especially on
talk.
social media. I just love social media. So, but it's like, but yes, you see the before and the after, but you don't see the struggle. You don't see how hard it is.
You don't see the tears and the blood and the sweat
That's
and the
not
pain.
inspiring to people to just see that, because then when they start that journey, they're like, what the heck?
Right.
It is
Why is this
now,
taking
though.
so long? Why
People
is this-
now
Yeah.
that they don't see like the real, the gritty,
Yeah.
that's what they want to see, and they're like, oh hell yeah! Like
Yeah.
look at what that person
Yeah,
went through. It's
100%.
like
I do like to see the struggle. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
feel
wanna
like that
see
is
it.
inspiring. Like,
Yeah.
wow, this sucks. It's gonna suck. I know that going into it. But yeah, I
Right.
feel like that's more inspiring than just seeing like the skinny little Instagram girls. Like that makes me.
I feel like your friend
That's
group
sad.
needs to go to brunch and y'all need to talk about goal setting and the nitty gritty
Right.
and like just break it down. I swear, I don't know if I'm a nerd, but I love those conversations.
do
Like
too.
I would take those over like gossip or whatever any day. It's like those fill my cup up. So
Yeah.
me knowing that, that's what I enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I need a friend group or one or two friends. It doesn't have to be the whole friend that
Yeah.
you can have those conversations with to.
Start a goal setting club.
Yeah, I
feel like it would be
like
successful.
Yeah, I do too.
So let's end this out with talking about some SMART goals. It's not sexy, but it is tried and true.
I'm so sick of hearing about SMART goals, but
SMART
they are
goals.
good.
They
They're
are-
legit. I hate to admit it.
Me too, because I'm like, have you ever heard of SMART goals? Yes, Susan, I have. So sorry if your name is Susan. That wasn't directed at you. Amy, you're the behavior change specialist.
All
Let's talk
right.
about some SMART goals.
SMART goals. So we'll start with S. You want it to be specific. So like we talked about earlier, I want to lose weight. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to get you anywhere. So you need to set real numbers with real deadlines. So don't say I want to lose weight. Say I want to lose X amount of pounds by X amount of days.
Let me ask you a question on that one. So
All right.
just from a qualitative standpoint, somebody says, I want to look better in my swimsuit. That's not specific, but it's not, you can't quantify what that look would be like.
It's true.
That's true.
So
That's a
that-
hard one.
But also like
I
by
think
when.
you got to dig deeper in that one and be like,
Yeah.
what would
What's gonna
looking
make
good
you
in
look-
your
yeah.
swimsuit?
Is it
like
you
what
want
looks
muscle
good
tone?
to you?
You want
Yeah.
muscle tone? You want to get some weight off?
Yeah,
Do you want
you just want to be skinnier?
Yeah,
you
you
wanna
got, just
be-
keep defining it.
Yeah.
Define it deeper.
Keep going, keep
yeah.
going,
Yeah, you're
keep
not
going.
specific enough, Eric.
All right, sorry for
More
interrupting.
specific.
So then that goes into the M, measurable. So you want to make sure that this goal is trackable. So, you know, if you don't, like, maybe it's pounds, maybe it's muscle mass, maybe it's BMI. You want some numbers around it. You want to see if you can be successful. I want to look good. That's not going to...
Let's test your
Maybe
body
I wake up one
composition,
morning. Yeah, maybe I wake up one morning and I feel good. I'm like, I look good
Yeah.
today. Maybe did I reach that? So measurable, having some numbers around it. And then A, attainable. So you want a goal that is challenging but possible. And I see this a lot with weight loss goals. People are like, I want to lose 50 pounds in 3 weeks or something like that.
And you're like, oh.
You're like, well,
That's a small child.
Yeah.
Literally a small child.
And healthy, what?
I was going to say, like, so what are you guys' thoughts on people who set super big goals and want to hit those because it keeps them pushing and pushing and pushing and doing more?
I would say like bring in your target goals. Like if
you
you
go.
if you have a overarching, like I'm a lot like Eric in really everything I do, I start backwards. Like I start big picture and then work
reverse
my way
engineer
down.
it.
It's the way my brain works.
Yeah.
So I would suggest doing that. Like if you have a really big goal, what are some like small attainable goals within that big goal that will keep you pushing?
Yeah. It's good to have a big goal, a big overall North Star, but then you got to break that
I like
down.
that.
Otherwise, you're
North
gonna
Star.
get very overwhelmed. Yeah, so attainable. So you can have big goals, but then make sure you break it down into attainable pieces. And then realistic. So being honest with yourself, which people struggle with sometimes. So know what you are capable of, what has worked, what hasn't worked. Keep in mind those obstacles.
I think body composition is big into that. Some people think they're going to look like such and such person.
Yeah.
That's not going to be possible.
Yeah, being realistic. And then back to the weight loss too. Like, healthy weight loss is what, half a pound to a pound a week.
That's for
maybe
women.
2 pounds for
men. It's usually a pound to 2 pounds.
Yeah.
For women, it's a half a pound to a pound.
Yeah.
A week.
Every
is
woman
really
out there is like,
and no, I know. And I'll tell you straight up, like I did bodybuilding, right? I've talked about this multiple times. We did a show prep, which is very intensive for 16 weeks. Okay. So this means show prep. It's hell, right? It wasn't that bad, but once you get down to like the last 4 weeks, it's a lot. I did not drink a drop of liquor, alcohol, nothing in 16 weeks. My food was straight up. I did not cheat one time. We were on it. Like I did everything I was supposed to. I literally lost 1 pound a week for 16 weeks. It was every Saturday morning I would be down a full pound.
Wow.
It was almost like
Science.
clockwork. It was insane.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, granted, I didn't have a ton to lose, so it may have been a little bit more difficult, but look at how much I was doing cardio in the morning, weightlifting at night, 5 days a week, y'all.
Yeah.
So like, look at that and eating perfect, no alcohol. And it was literally 1 pound a week.
Discouraging me right now.
Don't ever do it. Don't do it.
But back to realistic though too, like, oh gosh, I just completely lost my train of thought. But
I feel like it's but it could be opposite. People can be like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
yeah.
well, okay, so if you've never worked out a day in your life though, and you want to set your goal as I'm going to work out 5 days this
No,
week,
let's go
is
2.
that realistic?
No.
Is that
Right.
because the thing about being realistic is you can start with 2 days, and if you get a month or 2 in and you're crushing that, and you can add a day, you can add another day, you can continue to add on. But if you said 5 days and week 1 you only go once, and
Then you feel
just
like a failure.
Yeah, you feel like a
Right.
failure. You fall off. Like
You fail
Not
before
realistic.
you even get to start. Like you're literally setting yourself up for failure.
yeah.
But then like, be also open to the fact of like some things may be uncomfortable. Like it's not comfortable usually searching for goals. Like it's not comfortable usually hitting goals because usually there's something that you haven't attained before. So it's like some of those like there's a fine balance on that one for sure.
Yeah, and then the T, it's kind of similar to measurable, but time bound. So give yourself a deadline. So when do you want to hit these by realistically?
Yeah.
Is it if it's an end of the year goal too? Like break it down, and then each of those goals are SMART goals. And when do you want to reach that first goal? When do you want to reach that second goal? Time bound.
I will say with that one, because I've been in the situation where I have a time set that I want to do this goal, but I didn't hit that goal. Is nobody's perfect.
Adjust.
And just take what you haven't done yet with the rest of that goal and make that your new goal for the next year.
Yeah.
So you still continue towards that goal. You know you're progressing and you know you're going to hit it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. I think that's a wrap. That's a wrap on the year.
Oof.
Woo.
Yeah, that's our last one.
Guys,
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to us all year long. Don't you worry. We'll be
Season
back next
2
year.
is going to be big.
Season 2, here we come. This is our last episode of the year. New Year's resolution. Worth it or a waste? We'll let you decide. See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.